You are manifesting, we are manifesting 100% of the time accurately. There is no such thing as not getting what you want. Your energetic manifestation system works perfectly. The problem is we don't know what the hell it is we're telling it to manifest. What you intend and what you believe to be true about your future is what stops you, not what happened in your past. It retroactively causes you to believe, think, feel, act, intend, imagine, choose, and want things. And then you go create that future reality.
Hi everyone, I am Julie Edmonds, your host of Channeled, tapping into the wisdom of your soul.
Hello and welcome to Channel, Tapping into the Wisdom of Your Soul. Today I'm thrilled to welcome Heather Alice Shea. She's the founder of Atmana Academy and a powerhouse in the intuitive coaching world. Heather went from zero confidence and clarity with her coaching practice to building an international seven-figure training company. She teaches intuitive entrepreneurs how to step out of the time for money trap, trust their inner voice, package their genius, and charge what they are worth. And so in our conversation, we'll dive into how you can awaken your intuitive coaching style, align your business with your soul mission, and transform your impact and income in one rhythm. Hi, Heather. How are you?
It's so good to be here with you, Julie. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for coming on. This is exciting. I'm excited to dive into this. Sounds like you've started from one spot and you turned into, this powerhouse woman that's using her intuition and your soul to drive your work. So how did you get started? Tell me, where was the transformation and the awakening, a little bit about you.
Yeah, it's so cliche, but you see that old Instagram post like, I didn't choose this life, it chose me. But that's kind of how I do feel about it. I got started in the coaching arena back in the late 90s. My first job out of college was actually to be a career coach, which, looking back on it, I realize is kind of rare. And from there, I really fell in love with therapy. So, in my early 20s, I had a very traumatic childhood. And so it was in my 20s when I had my first job and I was doing coaching, but then on the personal side, I was really unpacking a lot of the things that I had endured as a small child. At the age of 4, let's just go ahead and hit this podcast hard. Me coming out of the gate, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about my trauma. So at the age of 4, I was sexually abused as a child. And so in my early 20s, I was on this journey of healing that, plus sitting in the seat of helping people with their careers. And I think it just all kind of clicked and came together that what I wanted to spend my life doing was teaching people how to build a better life, not just a better job, although that's fun. Today I teach and train people how to start a business and become, in the coaching world, but really how to have a better life, one where we truly become free beyond the bonds that our logical mind can't break, or maybe feels that it is impossible to break. So I think that's really where it all started. And in 2014, I started a private coaching practice and realized, my intuitive abilities were really powerful in that arena. And then in 2020, fast forward to 2020, is when I launched my formal certification program, teaching and training aspiring coaches how to, walk their clients through the coaching process and how to use their intuition while they're doing it. So,
Wow,
yeah.
that's awesome. So let's go back to 2014 when you said you realized you had this awakening, your intuitive powers were really strong and those gifts were strong. How did you know? For our listeners, feeling something and they're like, wait, hold on, this could be me.
Yeah, that's such a good question. Do you know what I notice about really intuitive people is they don't know the people that are really intuitive because they have always been that way. They think that that's normal. So it's hilarious to me. Like the most intuitive people don't think they're intuitive because they can't see their own ability. It's like a fish knowing that it's in water. It's like, what do you
Wow.
mean I'm wet? It's like, you're wet, you're in water. They're like, no, I'm not. This is just, isn't everybody like this? So for me, how I knew I was intuitive was I actually was highly intuitive as a child, but at that time in my life, I wanted to have nothing to do with anything spiritual. I mean, nothing. I grew up in a very oppressive religion, and I thought that all of that stuff was meant to control and subjugate people. I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. What happened was in 2012, I had a medical crisis that unlocked all of these abilities overnight. At the conscious level, I'd always had them as a child, but I was repressing them. So how I knew it was bam. I mean, for me, it was quite literally overnight. I had this, spiritual awakening experience. Basically, I was really sick, really, really sick. Um,
Let me ask you about that though. Okay, so you had this
yeah,
medical crisis. I'd love to, if you want to share what happened. You said you were really sick, but do you also feel like, that's God or the universe talking, like knocking,
yeah,
like this is going to happen. So if you don't wake up, we're making you
yeah,
in the blank until you open your eyes.
for sure. I do think that's the case. I think like God, universe, whichever whatever people believe to be a higher power, I think is always trying to gently guide us. But when gentle doesn't work, a slap will. It's like, I just, wasn't, I don't want to say I wasn't listening, but just the life that I had lived didn't, it wasn't taking me to that place, right? I was in a lot of resistance, a lot of just kind of, I guess, maybe operating out of old wounds, maybe, or old beliefs. So what happened was I had had infertility issues, really bad case of endometriosis, and an unexplained illness. Doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, but I was having a surgery a year to try to get this endo under control. Plus this all this other weird stuff. I'd have these debilitating attacks where I would not be able to move for 4 or 5 hours. I'd go to the emergency room. Nobody knew what was going on with me. They were
But you
giving
physically, like you physically couldn't move, or was it like
physically,
anxiety? Okay.
like I was in so much pain, I could not physically, and it would just come on, and then it would be like excruciating for 4 or 5 hours, and then it would just go away. Doctors couldn't tell me what it was. It's not, what is it neurological? We don't, no one knew. And so through that experience, I was kind of like, no, like nobody knows what's going on. Doctors don't know, religion's BS. I was 35 years old at the time. I was just going through it. Like, I just thought everything is fake, everything is stupid, everything
Mhm.
I've been taught is wrong. None of that, this isn't good, that's not good, this isn't real, that's not real. And so I'd had a full hysterectomy, quote unquote, to try to heal it. Total BS. I have one regret in my life, and that's that hysterectomy. But
Wow.
now I look back on it, and realize I could have done things to save that, but I had the surgery, and then because of this other mystery thing that was going on, I just wasn't getting better. And I wasn't, and also I didn't have any faith in the system to help me be better. So I think even the existential kind of terror of it was really the psychological aspect.
Yeah.
So I just thought to myself, well, you know what? If I have another one of these attacks, I'm not going to make it.
Mm.
I am not going to make it. I had this strong, overwhelming knowing that I might lose my life. And that is what set me off because I thought, because I lost my dad when I was 29. And I just
Wow.
thought to myself, if my daughter sees my body like that, I can't handle that. I cannot let my child, she was only very young at the time. I'm like, I can't. And so I was just filled with rage.
So what'd
And
you
so
do?
I prayed for the first time in a long time. I was so mad. I call it my Lieutenant Dan moment from the movie Forrest Gump, where Lieutenant Dan was on the shrimping boat and he's like, F you, God. That was like that. Like I was like, I am so pissed off. And I started praying and I'm like, blast like the most
Wow.
awful crap I was saying. Like, you're a F this, F you, to God himself. Like I was calling it down, buddy. And all of a sudden, I'd never had this happen to me before. Everything in me just went real quiet. It was like somebody unplugged all the emotion and I just went, shoo.
Wow.
And I heard a voice say, Heather, you can, like, we hear you. Okay. You can remain in your anger and bitterness for however long that may be, however long the rest of your life is. You can do this. You can keep doing this if you want. Or You can choose forgiveness and grace and to allow peace to come into your life. But the time is now, so you need to choose.
Wow. So it's almost as if even if you hadn't lost your life, it's kind of like you lost your life if you had
Yeah,
to
I
live
did.
anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was that classic psychic death, right? The whole notion of we are born and hopefully every day some part of us dies and a new self is born. That's
Yeah.
what it is to be born again. It's not this religious, you know. So that's what happened, and I chose grace, of course, and fell asleep, and I did this whole thing, and I said, "Oh my," you know, and through the course of that night, I fell
This is
asleep, and
over
I
the course of 1 hour, one night,
like
24 hours.
30 minutes that happened. Yeah, like I was praying, and I said, you know, God, thank you for my life. I choose forgiveness. I'm going to do this all the way. Like this is it. In this moment, I asked for you to answer me, and I can't believe it, but you did. So. I'm going to choose for if I die, cool. No matter what, I know it's going to be all right. My daughter's going to be all right. I just want to go to sleep. And I was feeling this unconditional love, just this like pure love energy, which is so different from what you experience as a human. It was just totally transcendent. Fell asleep and I woke up that next morning and I was absolutely better and never had a problem since. But I could still hear that voice.
Like that you would say was your an awakening moment
Yeah.
where you definitely really tapped into, oh, wait, hold on, all of this is here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
Interesting.
could still hear that voice, but I didn't really know what that was. I wasn't on some spiritual journey. Like you hear that a lot with people. They're on I'm no. This I was that's what I was saying like I definitely did not. Uh so it kind of happened to me, but then from there I was a research assistant for a cognitive psychologist at that time. So I had access to a university library.
Hmm.
And every waking moment that I had in my spare time, I spent researching from a scientific perspective the psychophysiological processes through and by which we energetically communicate with the with spirit, with the science calls it, you know, the matrix, right? The quantum field. I just dove into all of it. So let's explain how energetic communication works. How you can, in other words, how you can know things without knowing how you can know things about people, sense things about people, places, things. How does that work? Right? Because the mainstream answer is that's all just in your imagination.
Yeah, you
You're
made it
just
up.
making it up, right? It's a coincidence. Well, now we know that's not true. So, and how we know that's not true is through quantum physics. So remember when you were a kid? I'll give you the hot and dirty. Remember when you were a kid, we were taught that the atom is the fundamental building block of the material world. Well, we now know through quantum physics that there's a sub world, a world underneath or behind the physical world. Okay. And that sub world or the world behind is what science calls the quantum world or the quantum realm in which the lowest substrate fundamental build is the photon. Okay, so a material world, atom, quantum world, photon. Okay, all right. So everything you see now, this isn't me. This is just what quantum. We now know that no one, by the way, in the scientific, this isn't up for debate. Like people have known
Yeah.
this for a very long time, right? It's like saying the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. We're done. We all know that this is how it works. So the material world, everything you see in the material world is created first through the quantum realm, the world of photons, right? And we know this through split particle experiments where a photon can be a particle or a wave until it becomes material. Then it will manifest as one or the other, right? So humans, so we know there's two worlds. We've established there's two worlds. Okay. There's a physical world, but then there's this energetic world, or religion calls it the spiritual realm. Okay. Human beings are a byproduct of, to use like like materialism language. To use religious language, we'd say we are a child of both worlds. So you have more than one fit body. And this is what human beings need to start understanding. And this is what I do every day of my life is I try to teach people about this other aspect of their beingness, which is your energetic beingness, right? So you have two bodies. You have a physical body, but you also have an energetic body. And this is what all of the ancient, you know, shamans and Buddha and Jesus and all were trying to tell us. They're trying to tell us there's more than just the material world. And you have the ability, we have the ability to interact with both of these worlds. So you have an energetic body. Science can now measure this. You have two fields, your body emits an electromagnetic field, one from the brain, one from the heart. The heart is way more powerful and stronger than the brain. Scientists can reliably measure this energetic field off the human body about 3 feet. So if you were to put your arms out, go up like this, that's kind of like your energetic field, right?
Doing it.
Okay,
So if
cool.
I say I love you this much,
Yeah, I love you this much, right? That's about the average size of a person's energetic field. And you can read anything and everything that ever is or was or will be through this field because the quantum field operates outside of time. It's not bound by physical laws, it's not bound by Newtonian laws. So time only exists in the material world. It does not exist in the quantum world. And this is how people who are intuitive can pick up on things that are about to happen, did happen, are happening now. Because what's happening is you're using your intuitive senses, of which there are five major ones to to read that energy.
and
Okay.
so you feel like it's already happened, or obviously
Yes.
free will. So, but when we tap into like I'm manifesting through my divine guidance, it's like it's there already. You're just quantum leaping into it, right? And or it could never happen if you just don't choose that. Your free will chooses something else. Is that how you would explain it? I mean, just in a
Yeah, yeah. So yes, exactly. So when we're looking at it through the lens of time, how you would look at future events, it's more accurate to call them action potentials. It could potentially happen depending on what you choose with your will.
right.
So there's a lot of potentials that could happen, and then we exist in time making choices, and then, okay, what manifests, manifests.
Like, okay, so we're talking about this limitless field of possibilities and
Hmm.
potentiality, right? Let's say you're looking for a house, as an example. And, I've had this experience my whole life. I walk in, I'm like, oh, this is it. It wasn't, I saw 12, but this is it. Um, is that something that you're saying is like it's in there, or all these other possibilities of like these bigger houses, these greater opportunities, but we're choosing small, maybe out of defense, just even like your story, you chose to stay sick,
Hmm.
got into this sick situation because you're like defending or you're hiding or you're feeling small or defensive. So talk about that. Like, we can just have, like, let's say we're looking for a house. Let me say this. What would be the best like practical advice you could give someone to like fall into the
Yeah,
best situation for them, for their house, their home?
perfect. That's a great one. First thing to realize is there's more than one right answer. That's the number one thing. There's more than one right answer. And a big reason why I feel like people have a hard time, quote unquote, getting into an intuitive answer is they don't realize that from the energetic spiritual perspective, it's much more open than how we see things. And let's use, your higher self maybe. So the way that I set it up, the way I teach it is there's five aspects of self. You have your higher self, your future self, you, and then underneath you is the water line that now we go into shadow. So then we have our self parts and our shadow. Okay. Self parts and our shadow aren't bad. They're just parts of ourselves that are unknown to us. Okay. So we fall under the water line of consciousness. So self parts and shadow. And through my sovereign coaching method, I teach how to integrate, find it, feel it, friend it, free it. I teach how to integrate this back
I like
into the
that.
core
Wait, say
personality.
that again. Find it.
Oh yeah, the four F's, but in a good, not the four-letter F word, but the four F's, right? So it's find it, feel it, friend it, free it.
Love it.
Everything, there's only one problem that all of us have to every possible problem that we've ever had in our entire life, period, point blank, end of story. I'm going to tell you right now, you've got one problem. And that problem is that you have parts of self that are not integrated and are not aware or in alignment with your core personality. Period. That is it. That's where every block comes from. That's where every limiting belief comes from. That's where every maladaptive thought comes from. All of it. There's one answer. That is it. You can take every problem you've ever had in the history of your entire life, and it is going to come back to this. There is some part of you that is not aligned with and integrated with that core self.
And why
That's
not?
because of our traumas, experiences, what we've been taught, right? There's 1,000 reasons why. Like how a self part becomes how an aspect of our consciousness gets out of alignment. Think of it like the spine when we go to the chiropractor. Think of it like that. You got
So it's
that
almost like
one.
detachments or like misalignments or and so how do you align that all back? Because I feel like once you start doing the healing work, the deep work, the
Mhm.
unconscious, subconscious, with my hypnotherapy or whatever modality a person
Yeah.
chooses, right?
Well, the good news is there's a million ways to do it. And that's what's beautiful is that we get to choose what feels resonant with us. I think hypnotherapy is one of the best ways, to be honest with you. It is the fastest, it is truly, in my opinion, I feel like hypnotherapy is one of the best. It's
Oh, I
also
agree.
not
I mean,
hard.
when I say saved my life, like I wasn't dying, but it's sort of like similar to your story. It saved my life from going into the
Mhm.
shithole, but into this beautiful, enlightened, divine, oh, I can create whatever I want. I'm in peace with myself. And I love
That's
life.
right. Yeah. Okay, so let's say there's a many ways we can do it, but what Sovereign does, the find it, feel it, friend it, forget, no matter how you're doing it, okay, which could be therapy, tapping, all of it, yeah? Essentially, what are you doing? In other words, why does it work? In other words, let's pull up the hood and look at what did that thing do inside us to get it to align. And here is what it is. It is finding the thing that's out of alignment, feeling what has not been felt, friending that part of you back and bringing it back into the fold, right? Reaching catharsis, getting it expressed, making peace, and then freeing that part to do what it was always meant to do, which is assist, help, support, shine its light. In other words, unify with self, future self, higher self, and God. So no matter what, no matter if it's hypnotherapy, tapping, chakra work, talking to a therapist, whatever it is you want to do, journaling, whatever it is, what you're really doing without having it processed out is essentially that. Because that is what healing is. It is the reintegration of lost parts of self. And so what Sovereign does is it just gives you a way to do that consciously. You can now walk yourself through the healing process because you understand how the psyche works and you can just go do this yourself. After all, it's our minds we are sovereign over. So yeah, so that's the water line and what I think is so fascinating. There's a all roads lead there. What I want to empower people to do is to take command of the fact that we really can do this work, like the inner work ourselves. Not to say we don't work with other people to help us, but it shouldn't be the mystery it is today. It should not. We should understand this, how the psyche works. So let's go back to the house. The reason why it's hard to buy the house is because there might be a part of self that's not congruent. So, well, one part wants a big house. Another part wants to live out in the country with a bunch of horses and a dog. Okay. The other part wants an apartment in the city. The other one wants to be, okay, you follow? So,
Yeah.
which one do I choose? Which house, which house, which house? It's like, no, no, no. Which, let's put table the house. Which part of yourself is talking? Which part of yourself, why is it wanting that? It's the real issue with buying the house isn't the house. It's that there are aspects of our own consciousness and psyche that we don't have a deep enough relationship with to know which one is really us. So how I would approach it, okay, so the reason why it could be hard is one, it could be three. If you're looking at five houses, three might be the right answer. It just depends on what you want, right? Two might maybe be not good at all. But the truth is, life is pretty generous. Like it could just be that there's more than one right answer. So with that being said, if taking that off the table, the reason why it's challenging is because we have this thing going on with disintegrated self parts. Okay. So this is where the process of and this is an intuitive process. It's to go within and ask ourselves, gosh, what is it about? Why does this one part feel this way, feel attached or drawn to this house? And what do and then you ask yourself all of you're getting to know how that part feels about that, how you feel about this house, and then how you feel about that house. So you allow room for all of these different desires and hopes and dreams that you have about these houses. And then you sit down, you being in the core of who you are, right? The you now, you've listened to all of these things, these different parts that you don't even know are parts because you just think of it as you. But
Yeah,
they
you think of
can't,
it as you. Yeah. You think of
yeah,
it
but
as
they
you.
can't just be you because it doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. Think about it. There has to be more going on.
Where
So
is
like
that coming from? Because when we say, well, maybe I made that up, but you made it up from
you
where?
didn't make it up. A
No, I
part
know.
of
I'm
you,
just saying, where did it
yeah,
come from?
it
Exactly.
comes from a part of you that it comes from a part of us that we don't really understand as well as maybe we should. It's an invitation to understand ourselves a little better. Okay. So, and these parts that I'm talking about, self parts, there's different types of parts and different roles the parts play. And then once you understand the types of parts and the roles they play, boom, it gets so much easier to figure out where it's coming from and how it's operating in your minds. But the goal with the full intuitive process would be we get to know the self parts, but then we align back, we come back to who we are, right? Our core us, I call it the personality self. It's like who you were born to be in this lifetime. And we align with our higher self, which is in the spiritual realm. The higher self never manifests in the physical. It's impossible, right? There's too much consciousness there. So the higher self is our North Star, and we look to our future self, which is works like a magnet. So think of like the higher self is sets the direction, highest possible outcome. And think of it like dropping a packet, like, okay, boom, down to the future self. The future self, which will manifest in this reality, whether you like it or not. Now, it might be a future self you don't like. And it usually is if it's not something consciously thought of. So, this is why you're manifesting. Here's what I'll say about manifestation. You are manifesting, we are manifesting 100% of the time accurately. There is no such thing as not getting what you want. Your energetic manifestation system works perfectly. The problem is we don't know what the hell it is we're telling it to manifest.
Yes. Just so do you feel like well, we always hear like a magnet or a mirror for your inner world.
I have a whole framework on this. It's called the self-manifestation matrix. It explains it down to the 8 buttons you push in yourself to actually make manifestation work. Emotions, thoughts, beliefs, actions, desire, will, imagination, and intention. These work that whole 8 part system is how you get it's your inner world. You use those mechanisms to program the energetic world, which then creates the physical, because the physical world is nothing more than a mirror. So how do we have no control over the physical world, zero control over the physical world. We have indirect control via our inner world to program the energetic matrix, which is that quantum realm I just talked about a little bit earlier, right? The realm of the photons that does create the physical world.
Yeah.
So in this way, everything you see, how do we do it? Through these eight buttons. I just emotions, thoughts, beliefs, actions. Yes, your actions are something that's in the inner world, not the outer world. Your desire, your will, your intention, and your imagination. So we align with that higher self, and we envision a future self that really truly does work like a magnet. Research on this is fascinating. It's called retroactive causation. The phenomenon of retroactive causation states that the genesis of all of our problems in life, the origin of them actually lies in our future, not our past. That what you intend and what you believe to be true about your future is what stops you, not what happened in your past.
Oh, so totally get it. Totally get it. So whatever your thoughts are for the future are kind of really activating you in this moment.
And what
Not,
it does is it retroactively causes you to believe, think, feel, act, intend, imagine, choose, and want things. And then you go create that future reality. Okay, so retroactive causation states that it's actually how we perceive ourselves in the future, not the past. We're not, and everyone in the self-help, it's all like the problems in the past. I have to go heal what happened. Yes, that's true. We do, because we do need to understand ourselves. Again, sovereign, I get it. Fine, the 4 steps to do it. Not negating that. What I think we're missing is the authority and the sovereignty in this now moment to claim what we want to have happen in our future. So the concept of future self is really where we want to tune in and say, okay, I'm going to buy a house. What do I want my future to be? And there's many things I want, and there's many things that it could be. So which one really is it going to be? Because we're not going to buy 3 houses, right? We do have to pick one. So to me, it's this curious idea of I know there's no easy answer for this, but it's like you have to get to know yourself and what you really want, and then give yourself permission to really want the thing you want. And that's the future self, right? In the higher, to really want. If you want that big house, that dream is there to have it. Then from there, it just gets mechanical. It's like you just use your clairs and make sure that you're unattached to any outcome. Um,
the thing.
you know, yeah.
So interesting. You're saying so many great things right now. So future self. I did some exercises like, well, I've done deep, deep, deep meditation work and all kinds of quantum jumping, et cetera, et cetera. And I felt like the more I kept saying future self stayed in the future because I'm almost like projecting the future self. Like, I want to do this in the future. Like, I want to have well, let's say a podcast in the future. I want to lose weight in the future, et cetera, et cetera. But it's always in the future. So no matter how far I go,
Yeah.
even though I'm present, that's never attainment because it's future.
Yeah, that's such a great point. So here's why that's an amazing thing. Because we always want like people are like, well, the goalpost moves, but that actually can work for us. So the trick is that how do we manifest right now? How do we align within this now moment to that future reality? And so we do it through seeing ourselves in this now moment as an energetic match and expression today of the thing that we say is from a time perspective in the future. So, for example, if I say, I want to be a best-selling author, we manifest that by saying, I am an author. I am an author right now. I already am. We don't, so in other words, it's your identity. You act, you feel, and then from this moment, the minute that I figure out that what I want to be is an author, even though I've never written a book, you feel in your present moment, your future reality. This is it. You feel in your present moment, your future reality as a present day fact. So you feel it's a present day fact today, even though it's in the future. I heard someone describe it this way, and it blew my hair back. It said,
It blew my hair back.
it blew my hair back. I was like, holy crap, that's such a great way to say it. So she said, when you learn to see yourself in how God sees you, when you shift your identity, it's an identity problem. That's why people can't manifest. You don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you are.
Kind of
Yeah,
like I want to stop smoking. Well, that's never going to happen unless you say I don't smoke.
I don't smoke. Yeah, that exactly. So you're manifesting what you are. What are you? Well, it depends on how you conceive of yourself. But so if let's say you say, I want to be a best-selling author, When you learn to see yourself how heaven sees you, think about it like this. Even if you never write a book, if God has called you to be an author, whatever that calling is, whatever that dream is over your life, the true authentic dream, the wildest one, when you die and go to heaven, they will call you an author who never wrote a book. But you are an author. What you do in this life
Oh, I see
doesn't
what you're
change
saying. So you are that identity regard.
today. It
Got it.
doesn't matter if you ever, now, of course, we want to do it. And here in the physical world, it does matter whether we write that book or not. It does. It does matter whether we write it or not. But where we are getting caught up, where we get caught up is that we don't trust what our intuition is saying. Your intuition is saying to you, you are a best-selling author right now. Right now. That's how heaven sees you. That's how God sees you. That is how you are known in the heavenlies. Whether or not you choose to trust that and do anything about it doesn't change it one bit. And when you die, you will be known as an author who
That
never
gives me
wrote a
chills,
book.
Heather. But let me ask, like, people tapping into their intuition, right? Like, so I'm very intuitive too, and I didn't know I was. They die and they're like, you're an author that never wrote that book. And they were like, but I never felt that. I never was able, like, this is what we're talking about. Like, learn how to tap into these things so you can live that
Yeah,
divine, godly
sure.
life.
Okay.
What are some practical things that people can do today to start like
Yeah.
tapping into these types of
No,
things?
number one thing, this is like 50% probably, maybe more, to do to start this process off. It's becoming aware. The first step in my true intuition method, I know I've got a million methods here. Three main ones that I teach, but for intuitive development, it's called true intuition. The first step is inner awareness. Very simple. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to just lightly learn. It's like where we pay attention. So, very simple. In the minutes of your day, you can do this anytime. It's start to ask yourself how you feel about what is going on. How do you feel right now? How do you feel? Inner awareness, okay, so intuitive information is where I always say this, hey, if you want to make a turkey sandwich, you don't go to the bathroom, do you? You go to the kitchen. Why do you go to the kitchen? Because that's where all the food is. So if you want to tap into your intuition, where are you going to go? Within, because that's where the information is. So the problem is we're a slave. The in the Buddhist tradition and some of the Hindu traditions as well, that's how they describe it. That we're enslaved to the material world. We're enslaved to the five senses. The world is noisy. It's distracting. Our five senses have enslaved us. So we prioritize information from the material world, right? Because we're living in it. It's so overwhelming, this physical experience. So the first step to intuitive development is to start to reclaim the rich inner world that's inside of you, your inner landscape. So when you're talking to someone, just start to pay attention. It's very light, do it very lightly. Next conversation you have with someone, pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to any images that might pop into your mind or what your own inner dialogue. You're not even trying to tap in yet. I just want to figure out if it's an intuitive impression or not. The first thing that we're going to do is develop this beautiful habit of being with ourselves while we are in the world, right? So Christ said, be in the world, not of the world. What he was trying to, there's many things that means, but the first is, look, don't just be this animal, a little human being running around doing nothing but reacting to external stimuli. You
And that's what most people are doing right
are
now.
doing.
Reactive.
So if you want to develop your intuition, that's the first thing. Just start paying attention to what's happening within you. Now, people are scared to do this because, well, what if there's something in there happening that I don't like? My inner critic is kind of mean and my back hurts and there's all kinds of stuff
Ah,
going on. People find it very, very scary and this is where shadow work begins. Again, self parts and shadow. So a lot of people are scared to do it because they're scared of what they're going to hear. They're scared of what they're going to see. They're scared of what they might know. They're scared of all those unprocessed emotions they've never felt. I totally get it. So that would be the first step. The second step then is just notice what's there. So we're just going to notice. Okay? The third step is to trust what is there. So we have to trust that what we're sensing and feeling, though it does not make sense to the logical mind, is just as valid and vital. Valid and vital. It is valid and vital. Just because your logical mind doesn't understand it does not mean it's not important. Okay? And then the fourth is interpret, but we're not, that now we're really getting into it. Like you've got an impression, here it is. Okay, what do we do with it? What's it mean? But it really is that simple. And you're far, so I always say this too. We are all powerful intuitives. We are as intuitive as you're ever going to be in this moment. You were born with an intuitive system working perfectly. Intuitive development, tapping into your intuition, knowing what's there it's not about learning how to be that. You actually already are that. It's intuitive development is what we're really doing in the system is becoming consciously aware of what is there. So every human being, in the research shows this, is intuiting every single moment. Your intuition works off of your autonomic nervous system, just like you digest food and blink and you don't have to think about it. That's the system your intuition also runs off of. Okay. So think of it like a browser in the background. It's always running. Research shows that children in utero, 5 months old in utero, can already read their mother's energy. Before you were even born, you were fluent in intuition. It is your first language.
Like a
Intuition is your
birthright.
first language. Yeah, it's your birthright. So you're already as intuitive. Intuitive development then is actually the process of taking something that is currently under unconscious control and making it conscious. So that's how when I teach intuitive development, you're not starting at zero.
No, you're remembering.
Yes, you already do it perfect.
Yeah.
You get in
I
from the
think of
human.
it this way. My cat has joined the podcast for anyone that's watching. Phoenix. Like if you walk into a very colorful room and if you want to manifest the pinks, you just look for them. And then all suddenly you start seeing them everywhere, right? I
That's
think,
exactly right.
yeah,
Perfect. That's exactly right. Yeah.
yeah.
Manifestation is realizing you can create the pink via thinking about it first. If I want pink, I create pink inside. There it is, here it is, right here. I already have it. I already have $1 million in the bank. It doesn't matter. I don't need $1 million in my bank to know I'm a millionaire because I have it in here.
Right.
Right now, I am that. So we can even create it, right? It's crazy. But the logical mind hates this, hates it, because the logical mind sees it like a lie, sees it like I'm a fraud, sees it like I'm an imposter, because of course you don't have that house. So you're just lying to yourself. You're just wishful thinking. You're just gassing yourself up. Julie, be realistic. Get a real job. This is what the logical mind says. So that's why the identity shift, which is what Sovereign gives you every day, all day, it starts with who you are. That identity shift is the cure that fixes it. When we start to understand that it's what we conceive to be true about ourselves, right? So no, I hear you. I've never made a list like that. I never will. Because to me, I would be a
I
spaghetti
did.
noodle.
I used to teach that. Like I was
Oh,
teaching, and I
really?
think I was 100% wrong in like writing the things down. There's a part of it that there's a blueprint in the mind, but I was missing the whole piece of let's. And then one day, one of my mentors said, "Well, you got to become the person," and it just like snapped into place.
Yeah.
Whoa, I have to become the person, and then it's like everything changed.
And I think that list is helpful in that it can help you see yourself in that home or see yourself in that. So I actually do think that's important, but we've got to realize it's not about the thing because we're not going to take any of those things with us. So,
Well, like what
it's
you said earlier too, you have to ask yourself, like, what is drawing you to that thing as well. and maybe that's a whole nother piece to the shadow work. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, is it out of true, authentic, divine guidance, or is it because you have some wounded self that needs to show off in this particular fill in the blank, or is it because that is divinely guided to have that? It's going to help you, and etc. And that, I think that's another piece. Well, you said it earlier with the shadow work.
So that's a big part of this too. If you want to tap in intuitively, like you were saying, the detachment, one of the things that I tell people when they're trying to make an intuitive decision, the process first is brainstorm the answer by yourself. We're not just, I want you to sit down and just think about it logically. Let's get that out of the way because your logical mind's not going to shut up until you do. Okay. So let's just get that done, table it. Okay, now you can be quiet, logical mind. We've got our list here. The second thing to do with the decision is to ask yourself, so this is where we detach and we get really honest and ask ourselves, what do I really want? The best way to do this is to flip a coin. Like let's say you've got two options on the table. Flip a coin, heads is one, tails is the other. Flip it. What you notice yourself wanting while that freaking coin is flipping is
Oh,
what you really want.
ew. So like house one is head, house two is tail. Ooh,
Boom.
that's great.
Flip, throw that thing in the air. And while it's flying, which one are you secretly hoping it's going to land on? You see how you always are, you always know. We always
Oh, but I
know.
love that. I love that. I love that. I love that.
Fun
Oh, I
fact,
could talk to you.
the reason why that works, and I can explain the biomechanics behind it, is your intuition functions like, well, first of all, we already know it's always in our heart. But your intuition comes in through the heart field, right? It's here. It takes approximately 2 seconds for it to hit our brain, and then it ends in our gut. So it goes heart, brain, gut. That's the pathway. It takes 2 seconds for it to hit our brain. It goes in through obviously hindbrain limbic system. We'll start to feel things, and then it pops and hits our neocortex where we start to think. So the reason why people go real quick, tell me, don't think about it, is they're trying to hit you in that 2 second window before your mind can get in and screw it up.
Yeah.
So
I do that
plop
in
that.
hypnotherapy. It's like first thought, and then I'll see because their eyes are closed. I'll see they're looking. Nope, nope. Let's ask again. What? Quick. First thought, best thought.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. Exactly. So we get real clear about what we want and then we let it go. Let it go. You got to be willing to get an answer that's a no. See, a big reason why we don't get the answers is we don't really want the answer. We want the answer we want.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Chick-fil-A fries. Do you really need the Chick-fil-A? But you do not. You want the Chick-fil-A fries.
But we'll tell ourselves we need them.
Yeah, we do need them. So anyway, that comes to the end. Heather, it has been a pleasure. I could talk to you for more hours upon hours. You've
Yeah.
dropped so many golden nuggets here. Where can our listeners find you? And I'll also put it all in the show notes.
Yeah. You can pop over to my website at heatheraliceshea.com and also on IG, on Instagram. My handle is at just my full name. So Heather Alice Shea, Shea is spelled Shea, like the butter. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone who's listening to channel Tapping to the Wisdom of Your Soul. If you like this, share it, subscribe, and we'll see you again. Thanks so much. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.